Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to review Soul Taken by Patricia Briggs. It's book 13 in the Mercy Thompson series, and one of my favorite ongoing urban fantasies. First of all, I love the cover. I think it's gorgeous. And while this wasn't quite my favorite in the series up to date, it was still one of the most entertaining ones I've read in a while. It started out a bit slow, and about the 20% mark I was on Goodreads going, when is it going to start? But the thing is about this series that I love spending time with these characters so much that they could be doing literally anything, and I would probably be on board. In this case, they were establishing character. They were taking time to work out some of the more complex pack dynamics, and anything to do with the werewolf pack, I just eat up. I love. Anytime things start to change within the pack, it brings in that element of politicking, but it has a magical layer on it because there's a whole bunch of werewolf pack rules that they have to follow and certain hierarchies. It's just fascinating to read about. So the first part of the book was a lot about that. And then somewhere around the 25% mark, the action started picking up and the mystery of the story became a lot more clear. This is going to be a perfect book to pick up this fall if you can wait that long. If you're like me, you were like chomping at the bit to get a hold of it. But the theme of the story is a scythe-wielding serial killer in the area, and it's filled with a lot of fall vibes, pumpkin patches, that kind of stuff. So it really set a good atmosphere. I continue to say that this is one of the most accessible urban fantasies on the market. A really good gateway to the genre if you've never read it before. More so even, I think, than the Dresden Files, although those are really good too. The first few books focus on a lot of the typical paranormal creatures. The further you get in the series, the more she expands the world and adds so many other cool layers of supernatural. And my favorite thing about the series is with every single book, she answers some questions and gives you some insight to characters who have been enigmas the entire series, but still leaves enough unexplained to make you want to keep reading. There are several characters, even at this point, who I want to know more about. And that sense of discovery is one of the main things that drives me as a reader, so I think that's one of the reasons I really love this series. This book in particular did more to advance character, and a little bit less focused on advancing the overall arc of the series. There have been some books that really, like, kabam, move the story forward significantly, and this wasn't one of those, and I think that's the only reason why I didn't give it a solid 5-star. I felt like it was a great story, I love the characters, but it didn't really advance the overall plot as much as I wanted it to. But actually, a lot of that's conjecture because maybe some of the things that happened in here will become pivotal going forward, and so this was a really big stepping stone, but time will tell. Overall, I'm really grateful I got the chance to snag an early digital copy of this book, and really happy that my physical one finally came in. These books normally come out in March, and so this one was pushed back quite a ways, several months, more so than usual. And I think that really added just a tad more complexity to the mystery than I was used to from her, and I really loved that aspect. So I am coming in at a solid 4 out of 5 stars for Soul Taken. Let's talk about other books you might like. I have more than just 2, but this is all I have physically. So I can't bring up Patricia Briggs without also talking about Kim Harrison, also one of my staples in the genre. And this one focuses more on witchcraft, whereas the other one is like the monster aspects of paranormal. But if you like urban fantasy, but you're craving more of an in-depth, slow burn, kind of more of a fantasy type of urban fantasy, this one is a really good pick. I also will continue to sing the praises for the Kate Daniels series from the Rooftops because they are my favorite paranormal writers. I love everything they've done. Start with Magic Bites. And even though I really didn't like this book, everything beyond that just grows into something really expansive and awesome. And speaking of enigma characters and speaking of really good paranormal development and tons of action scenes, I think what sets this one apart for me is that it has a lot more humor. And the writing is a little less casual and more intense, which I liked. So yes, one of my all-time favorites. I love that one. The Ordinary Magic series by Devin Monk. This one delighted me to no end. There were a few highs and lows in the series, a couple of absolute duds, but also a couple of close to 5 stars. The first book was delightful. It's this small town in Oregon where gods go to vacation and they kind of give up their powers while they're there. And so this woman is a police chief there, and she's got to kind of deal with the fallout of having so many supernatural beings in one place because they don't always behave themselves. And so Mercy Thompson to me is a very fun read, and I thought this one was comparable in the same sense. And both series are really good at setting an overall mood and having the location play a big role in the storytelling. If your favorite aspect of Mercy is the werewolves, I highly recommend Bitten by Kelly Armstrong. Bitten is one of the single best urban fantasy books I've ever read, one of my all-time favorites. I don't talk about it too often because the series beyond that kind of goes downhill a bit. But that first book, especially if you treat it as a standalone, is phenomenal. Awesome werewolf action, great pack politics, really grabbing. It's one of the few books I can remember walking around trying to cook dinner while being absorbed in. Like, it was so good, I couldn't put it down to function. They made a show out of it, and the show did actually a pretty good job of sticking close to the source material, so I liked it pretty well. And then finally, Menagerie by Rachel Vincent. It's a trilogy. If you like the writing style of Mercy Thompson, you like the mystery aspects, and you like all the paranormal inclusions, this is a phenomenal little trilogy. It's slightly off the beaten path. It takes place at kind of like a fairground freak show circus where they collect paranormal creatures to then make money off of them. But my favorite aspects were the mystery elements with all 3 books, especially with the third one. I liked this one enough to eventually go back and reread it, so that's a pretty high endorsement from me. Thank you so much for joining me for this review. I'd like to take a minute to thank my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting my content. Your support and comments and encouragement and just presence in my life, I'm really grateful for. So let me know, have you devoured Soul Taken already? What did you think? Also, I would love to know what your favorite urban fantasy series is if you have one. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.